Stretch out the dreams from my mind. Granny's got the scoop, let's unwind. Birds are chirping, singing their tune. Mystery of the day coming soon. Cup of tea and a buttered scone. Start the day, we're never alone. Good morning, rise and shine. Granny's here with stories so fine. Good morning, off we go. To greet the world with a happy glow. Windows open, smell the dew. Sky so wide, oh so blue. Granny's voice like honey sweet. Good news travels on our street. Time to jump into the fray. Cheers to another golden day. Granny's voice like honey sweet. Good news travels on our street. Good morning, rise and shine. Granny's here with stories so fine. Good morning, off we go. To greet the world with a happy glow. Good morning, rise and shine. Granny's here with stories so fine. Good morning, off we go. To greet the world with a happy glow. To greet the world with a happy glow. Stretch out the dreams from
Good morning, everybody. Hope you're having an awesome morning so far. Grab your coffee, your tea. We're going to get right into it. We have talked about this before in our morning news clip, but there's a little bit more information. It's about the mother who abandoned her kids for years. Come to find out, it's going on 5 years that she abandoned these children. 5 years, guys. I can't even imagine. I'm going to read something to you and I'll share that. First, this is the mom, Kelli Bryant, right here. So it's in Pontiac, Michigan. A mother who allegedly left 3 of her children alone, living in squalor in a Pontiac home, has been charged with 3 counts of first-degree child abuse. Kelli Bryant, who police said lived elsewhere in Pontiac while her children lived alone, surrounded by trash and feces, was arrested Friday after her landlord called police to do a welfare check because he hadn't heard from her and because she had not paid rent since October. The 3 children in this case suffered unimaginable abuse and neglect over a long period of time. Thankfully, they've now been rescued from that, and our first priority has been and will continue to be their safety and well-being. If convicted, Bryant faces up to life in prison. She's expected to be arraigned Thursday. She does not have an attorney listed in court records. Today is Thursday, guys. So interesting. Bryant's children, a 15-year-old boy, a 13-year-old girl, and a 12-year-old girl were found living in a biohazard. Sheriff Michael Bouchard said at a Tuesday press conference, and survived on weekly drop-offs of prepared food. Some rooms in the house had garbage piled as high as 4 feet, and deputies found mold and human waste throughout the house. McDonald and Bryant moved into the Lydia Lane home with 4 children at 2019. At some point in 2020 or 2021, she moved out of the home and left the 3 of the children there. The 4th child, a now 9-year-old boy, went to live with his father. All 3 children expressed fear as to what their mother's response would be if they left home, McDonald said. The defendant concealed the children from family and friends and lied about who was caring for the kids and their whereabouts. The defendant took the active steps of lying and concealing to make sure the children went undiscovered, and she took this action knowing that her children would suffer serious physical and emotional harm as a result. The evidence shows Bryant effectively abandoned the kids as a revolting pit of refuge and squalor. The 15-year-old boy would text his mother when they needed food, but that was the only contact they had. Morally, there's plenty of responsibility to go around for how this was allowed to happen. However, these kids were entrusted to the care of their mother. What stands out for me most is no love. There was nobody there to care for them between 3 and 4 years. Nobody physically present to let them know they were safe and they were loved. The prosecutor didn't indicate where exactly Bryant had been living apart from her children. McDonald said her office has not yet received any requests for criminal charges against anyone else, but it doesn't mean it won't happen in the future. When asked about why Bryant may have left the children alone, McDonald said sometimes the why can never be known. The 15-year-old said he had been outside only twice in the 4 years since his mother allegedly left him and his 2 younger sisters alone in the home. Bryant told an Oakland County judge in August 2022 in a custody case for a 4th child, a 9-year-old boy whose father said he never lived in the home, that was not in a situation where I can barely provide myself and my children, but she needed time to get back on her feet. She said it was the best interest of her son that his dad took him. I practically raised my children alone with less than bare minimum from their fathers, the mother wrote. It does not appear that any of the 3 children's relatives know they were living. The kids' father was not in the children's lives because Bryant, who had sole legal and physical custody of the kids, would not allow it. The 3 children's father is a different man than the father of the 9-year-old. The 3 kids' father did request a change in custody in March 2022 after he was released from prison, and that was according to a motion he filed in Oakland County Circuit Court. He wrote that he had not been around in years, but my kids need their father in their life. A couple of neighbors told the Detroit News they had never seen the 3 children at the residence and were shocked at the revelation. The kids have been placed with a relative by the Department of Health and Human Services, McDonald said. Her office is asking to terminate Bryant's rights to her children. We are simultaneously prosecuting the criminal case against mom and the neglect proceeding pertaining to the kids. So we will be asking our client, the Department of Health and Human Services, to file a petition to terminate her rights. Many things that concern me about this, guys, but let's go ahead and listen. Okay. I just want to put a warning up because I know that that's not so great, right?
Older boy and 2 younger girls when the landlord asked for a welfare check. Look at these pictures. So the landlord called attention to the police for the welfare check because Bryant stopped paying her rent in October.
The defendant instructed the kids that they were not to answer the door or leave the house. All 3 children expressed fear about what their mother's response would be if they left the home. Defendant concealed the children from family and friends and lied about who was caring for the kids and their whereabouts.
It's believed that the children had been living like that for 4 years. Can you imagine not being allowed to leave the house? The mother allegedly put fear in them, fear. If they would have left that house, of what would have happened to them. So now we're wondering, what's mom's defense going to be? Let's talk about it. Let's bring in our legal eagles. Still with me, attorneys John Phillips and Michael J. Brown. Want to welcome into the conversation private investigator, former law enforcement officer, and military serviceman Manuel Gomez. Manuel, let me start with you. Your reaction to this case, and what do you think the defense for mom may be at trial?
Well, in this case, morally, there is plenty of responsibility to go around for how this happened. First of all, the system failed on so many levels. One of the levels that really disturbed me, in 2022, she went to court with her fourth baby's father, and she turned around and he was petitioning for visitation. She told in court that she cannot support herself, she can't support the kids, she's not capable. And at that point, they should have ordered a wellness check. Nothing was done. And besides that, okay, Board of Ed should have sent a truant officer. These kids were in school during the duration they lived at this residence. And the fact of the matter is, the Board of Ed dropped the ball. Nobody sent anybody. Now, the mother could say they were transferred to another school. But the fact of the matter is, you would have to transfer the educational records. Nothing was ever transferred. There's so many levels here. And I can't see an insanity defense on this case because she was paying the utilities, paying the rent. She knew exactly what she was doing. This woman was capable and culpable.
Oh,
there's no doubt that she's going to be found guilty.
Boom, drop the mic right there. Capable and culpable. That ought to be the prosecutor's theme, Manuel. Thank you for that. Michael J. Brown, let me go to you next, please. What defense might this lady possibly have?
Obviously, the facts are very disturbing, Julie. The only thing that comes to mind is somebody like this with these set of facts. I certainly would want to get a psychiatrist, a psychologist involved if there's any hint whatsoever of any type of mental disease, trauma, PTSD from maybe her upbringing or even her relationships. I don't know, but that's the initial thing that comes to my mind in terms of what I would want to explore. Really, that's the only thing that comes to mind.
Sure. No, but appreciate that because everybody's asking, well, what in the world are we going to see from this woman after we understand, based on what law enforcement has said, that this was an abandonment, but she still kept eyes on them, forcing them to stay there. That's really, I think, what's most stunning. It's just like, okay, so there was power and control exerted on these kids, according to police. John Phillips, I know you got a lot of thoughts, please.
And that's the sign of culpability and conscious decision to do this. One of the things said that she actually had Febreze delivered to the house with some garbage bags so that they could just, spray it to make it smell better.
Guys, that squalor that they were living in, Febreze was not going to cut it. This mother, I'm sorry, just disgusts me. I can't with this. It's horrible. It's horrible. How could she allow her children to live like this? She did not train them to clean themselves. I mean, obviously they didn't because there was feces in the bathtub. I mean, she didn't. Even if she was going to leave them alone, she was paying rent until October. But even if she was going to, and utilities, because they were able to play video games. But even if she was going to leave them alone, wouldn't you think she'd come in and clean when she does drop off groceries once a week? No. Instead, she just put the fear of God. They had a phone that they could call her, but she put the fear of God in them not to call 911. I mean, I mentally, you've got to wonder how these children are. I'm concerned for the children because they are the ones that are suffering in all this, right?
And that the little boy, like once or twice, wanted to go outside just to touch the grass. And as a father of a 13-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 7-year-old, if 4 hours go by, I miss them. If 4 days go by because I'm out of town in trial, I'm on the phone. I can't be away from them. 4 years, like there's a place in hell for that. Excuse my language. Like
Yes.
this
No,
is
preach.
this
Exactly.
is
Say it, John.
this is awful.
Mhm.
And just the squalor and knowing that it's not going to end with the criminal justice system because these kids will be damaged for life.
Yes.
And kudos to the sheriff. I know they're raising money and clothes for these kids. If anybody out there has a clothing store or some teenage preteen clothes, like get in touch with the Oakland Sheriff's Office. It's awful.
Yes, no, it really is. You hope people see this. I know hearts are breaking all around the country with this news. I mean, just topping the headlines everywhere you look. People are talking about. I've been getting so many calls and messages about this one. This is a bad case, and thank you for that, John. Let's turn now to another aspect of it, and that pertains to where the kids will live next. So at this very moment, they're in the care of relatives, and according to the sheriff, they didn't know what was even happening. Take a look.
Family is asking, apparently, some of the folks that are now involved with the kids that didn't know, that's another question we've asked. They didn't know what was going on with the kids. They had been told by her that somebody else was babysitting the children or other kinds of things. So they were unaware what was happening so far, according to our investigation.
So what about other people who maybe knew something? Manuel Gomez, I want to go to you on this one. Red flags maybe should have been spotted. What do you think?
Well, you know what? It's correct when it goes about the family. It's been 5 years, almost 5 years those kids were missing. How do you not say, where are your children? And if you're saying, well, they're visiting, they're being taken care of by somebody else, you don't go to see them? Come on. What kind of family is that? Just like my colleague said, if my kid is missing for 4 hours, I missed them. 4 days, a day I missed them. The family didn't miss these kids. And the fact that they were put into the custody of the family is egregious. It is disgusting because these kids need psychological help. Julie, they had a functional cell phone and they were not able to call 911. You're telling me those kids don't need psychological help? That the family's going to provide psychological help? That did not look for them? That did not file a report? I'm sorry.
You're absolutely right. I mean, they need to go back to basics, learn the basic ways to live. They were deprived of soap, for crying out loud, and adequate food. John Phillips, to you next, please. Your thoughts on whether they should be with the family.
Well, again, it's the family that left them behind. And I saw something about the father being in jail and maybe coming out of jail, but the intensive treatment and also, taking it to another level. You're talking about a 15-year-old boy, a 13-year-old girl, and a 12-year-old girl. Guess what? Preteens, pubescent, like I can't even imagine. They had no parenting, no guidance. This is something that a family would want to take them in, but then if you have other kids around, you've got to reprogram them for a while. And no child is a lost cause. And we're going to, I hope society gets this right and enforces this, but there's so much liability to go around. I don't know where you start.
Yeah. Where do you start in this case, guys? Where do you start? Right? These children are going to need intensive therapy. And I question as well about putting them with family. We don't know how close family, right? But why wasn't the family questioning this mother? If you haven't seen kids for almost 5 years of a relative, a family member, if it's the grandparents, aunts and uncles, aren't you going to do something? Aren't you going to question something? And so I seriously hope that these children are not with close family who let them down to begin with, right? But that's not for me to judge. That's my opinion. And I feel the same way that these guys were talking about, right? I question that decision. I know that you always want children to be with family as much as you can, but I guess in this case, I do question that. They are going to need intensive therapy for a long time to come. Doesn't sound like their father, had been in prison. Didn't sound like he even, was granted visitation or custody in 2022 when he went to court. But this mother, the book should be thrown at her. She should not, how she made her children live for almost 5 years. She should not see the light of day. She has harmed those children physically, mentally, emotionally, deprived them of love, of the basic needs. This just outrages me. I'm just so disgusted by this. But we will watch the trial when that comes. And it'll be, probably more toward the evening. We'll go live with something like that. It'll be a longer clip. But I want to thank you guys for being here, coming in and watching the video with me. And I ask you to please hit the like button, subscribe, become a member. We have great members videos coming out. And so join our lives in the evenings. We're typically live somewhere around 5:00 in the evening, covering different cases. So I want to thank you so much, guys. Have a blessed and wonderful day. Thank you for watching another episode of Granny's Crime Busters. We really appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget to subscribe and like and even share the content. You can follow us on any of our other social media platforms at YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We really appreciate you guys, and you can also email us at grannyscrimebusters@gmail.com. Thank you so much, and we will see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.